right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's see here. Mic check, mic check. Okay, looks like that is working. How is everybody? Happy Monday. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I apologize for starting a little early. There's a lot going on. We have the Lori Vallow case going on. And apparently, for those that are familiar with the Richard Allen trial, or the Richard Allen case, or Delphi case, I should say, apparently tonight they're going to be releasing the interrogation videos. So I am really interested in seeing those. So I love the thumbnail. Yeah, we'll talk about the thumbnail. We'll try to squeeze that in. So I'm going to try to just do an hour. So I'm going to try to run through this. I do have quite a bit, but I do apologize that I am starting a little bit earlier than usual. But as always, thank you guys so much for the love and support. And I do apologize I haven't been here as much as I'd like to. Health hasn't been the best. I'm sure a lot of people can understand that. I do feel a little bit better, but it's just day to day right now. I am getting tested with left and right, and just hopefully we can figure out what's going on. But for right now, I feel better. So we're just going to jump right into this because, like I said, I'm really interested about this stuff that's going to be released here tonight. But yeah, I do. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, compared to Wednesday, I probably shouldn't even have gone live, but I hate when I'm not making content for people. So, all right, let's get into it. So the first thing, and we'll get to the thumbnail in a minute, but the first thing I wanted to touch on, so the main things is, of course, Crispy has been making the rounds on YouTube, of course. I think they'd, have a better, it'd be nice if they were actually spending more time maybe putting out flyers, and I don't know, but I guess YouTube's more important to them. But so, and unfortunately I don't have time to listen to like 10-hour live shows. I don't know how some of these people do it. I'm not throwing shade at them, but I don't know how they do it. Hour and a half is plenty for me. But anyway, so there's some things that I heard Chris talking about, and it just bugged the ever-living shit out of me because it doesn't make sense to what I've experienced. So I'm going to share this. Then we have the Dateline. I'm sure a lot of you that followed this case probably heard the Dateline. It came out a couple days ago. We'll touch on a little bit of that. And then of course, the thumbnail. We'll kind of talk about that because, of course, I think right after I went live, I think Chris talked about and I'm not sure which channel. I don't know if it was her channel or Queen Bee's. Maybe someone in chat could tell me, but apparently, he said that there was no 3 a.m. car, and basically said the same thing more or less that SF said, that it was some guy walking his trash can, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So I thought I'd come back to that because there's something in that 3 a.m. video that's very glaring. And also we'll talk about the bus as well, and I'll show you a little bit more footage of Katie driving without it being slowed down, just to show you, just how vigilant she was looking for Sebastian. So let's get into it, guys. So yeah, let's listen to this first part. This is Crispy, just a short clip talking about searching for Sebastian.
You guys keep asking about the ground penetrating radar and stuff like that. I can tell you guys, I've told you this once before, but Chris and Katie are dedicated to finding their son, right? They do things in the background. They don't need to come out here, get in the spotlight, get ass pats and attaboys and pats on the head. I can 100% assure you, and let me tell you, the stuff that they're doing, it's not free, right? The legitimate search things are being done.
Now, some of you are newer to the channel, and then some of you guys are what we call OGs, have been with me for a long time, and of course I appreciate everybody God bless you guys for supporting this channel. But for those that have been with me, know that I've gone out and searched in multiple cases. Now, I don't claim to be no expert in searching or, an organized, but I've been involved. I've worked with Texas EchoSearch in the Dylan Rounds case. I've seen how they do things. We searched for Dylan Rounds a bunch of times. And then, of course, more recently with the Aiden Clune case, where we'll talk about that here in a minute, where we actually found his shoes. And so I've been involved in these organized searches, right? Slightly more on the professional side, but more on the just kind of independent, And so I have a little bit of experience. And so let's hear what Chris has to say about this, which just makes me sick.
On their dime, right? So...
And so this is the only known photo that I know of them that actually, when they were allegedly searched, this was a picture where SF was flying his drone, and it looks like they stopped to take a selfie at the end, which to me, I've been out with the family, and further on in this interview, again, I'm only playing 2 minutes, but they even go on to talk about, well, yeah, you don't have to, when you're out there searching, it doesn't always have to be honky-dory or negative. I mean, the opposite. And I agree. Like, when you're out there searching, yeah, you're kind of, loosen up. But again, to like stop and take a picture with the missing parents and stuff, I've never done that. I can't imagine asking Amy or Candace, while I'm flying my drone as it comes back, hey, you want to take a selfie as it's coming back. It's still more on the serious side, even though, again, when we're out in the searches, things loosen up, because you're out there for hours and hours, depending on the search and everything. But again, the way that they're making this sound, again, there's only been one known photo. I would really love to know how much time they've actually spent searching and how many flyers they've actually handed out. I would love to know that. So let's hear Chris, what he says, because this bugs the ever-living hell out of me.
They are not stopping the search for their son. Period. Will you hear about it on the internet? No, you won't.
Yeah, and unfortunately, no. I mean, she's very correct. We're not going to come out in the public and videotape and start posting on everything that we have done and are currently involved with or have planned. It just, if you publicize it, then too many people get involved and more people just tend to get in the way for certain things, and it's just not.
No. That's so ass backwards. In my experience, anyway. The more, the better. Now, yeah, if you got like 100 people and you don't have enough people that are, like spread them into little groups, or you don't have it like, organized well, yeah, that could be an issue. But no, I mean, with the amount of publicity that this case has, compared to a case like Aiden Clune, where I literally just got done speaking with Amy, his mother, for those that are familiar with this case, I feel so bad because they would die to have this kind of publicity, for Aiden's case, because I'm sure people would go out and search for Sebastian because we know how much of a following they have on the other side. So people would go out, and it just, what he's saying here makes zero sense from my experience. Again, I'm not an expert, but it sounds so shady. And then the next thing he says really is just stupid.
Conducive to what needs to be done, unfortunately. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not an organizer. I'm not going to sit here and organize a 500-person.
Yeah, well, neither was Amy, but you know what? She had to do it because, she's a mother and she has a missing son. Same with Candace. She had to do the same goddamn thing in Dylan Round's case. All the mothers that have a missing child that weren't found had to go organize their search, unless they're lucky enough to have somebody that's helping them. But usually it's the family. So this really disturbs me. It really shows me that they have no experience in organizing shit, which is a huge red flag in my opinion. And then let's listen to more what he says.
Search party, line us up in a line and start marching through fields. I can't, because one, that's there's a lot of legal issues.
What in the hell is with Chris and legal issues? That is like the biggest go-to for him and the biggest red flag. Unless you're searching on private property, which all you're going to do in the beginning is you're going to go before you do your search. As you can see, I have Amy. This is this year. This is the search. We'll talk about Aiden for just a minute here, just to kind of tie it all together here. But these legal issues is such a cop-out term. Again, unless you're searching like somebody's farm or something, a lot of that wooded area, I don't know how much is private property or public, but all it takes is a phone call, right? You just call somebody, hey, do you mind if we search your property? We have a missing child. Usually most people are more than happy to help. But to me, this is all just BS. And these people buy it. And it's disgusting. Yeah, I'm serving it up Siceby because we have this search coming up. And again, I've been involved in searches, and it just pisses the hell out of me. With how much he feeds these people, and they just buy it. And it's nonsense. So let me back this up just a little bit. And I do apologize for the language. Again, it just makes me so mad because this is just excuses. Literally excuses.
Party line us up in a line and start marching through fields. I can't because there's a lot of legal issues. There's a lot of health issues. You got to have certain things in place.
There's always health issues. We go out hiking, with Aiden Clune, he's out in the middle of the desert, and during the day, when you're searching in May, it gets very hot. But you know what? As in all searches, you take precautions, and again, nothing's, you're not signing contracts, but, you're just doing your due diligence, water, the basic necessities. But again, you can tell he's clearly has no idea what he's talking about, which tells me that they don't organize shit.
And it's just not something that we are equipped to do. But trust me, we do appreciate everybody looking. If you want to go out there and look on your own, please be safe.
Yeah, that's better. Have everybody out looking out on their own, so then they start double tracking over the same areas that somebody else had tracked over, instead of organizing searches where then you run there's an app, say, called Topo. It's one of the bigger ones. Even law enforcement uses it. That way the public can use it as well. And it's basically just a GPS on your phone. It's an app. And again, it's one of them that they use for searches. There's another one, I forget the name off the top of my head, but Catalpa's the big one. And yeah, you basically have that app running, and so when you're searching, you do your grids, and then that's locked in, and it's tied to that, and it's always there. So if anybody else goes out and searches, you can see where they have searched, and you start building a map. Basically, what we're going to look at here in a little bit. But anyway, it's what we used in Aiden Clune's case. And it's very, it's very resourceful. But then when you just have independent, which is fine. Again, shout out to Silvers on the Scene, because I think he's about the only person, next to Seth that's actually trying to go out there and search. I know there's probably others, but Silvers comes to mind. But again, a more organized search, you're going to get more ground, more, productivity. But yeah, what he's saying makes no sense. And it's just so frustrating. And, nothing like wait until a year later to talk about all this stuff and do these interviews. It's stupid. Yeah, great for grid searching too. Yeah, exactly. And that's the huge thing, right? Because if you just got a bunch of independent people wandering around, they may double over what they have done. Not to say it's not a bad thing, because, sometimes people do find or miss things, but
if you see something of interest, take pictures.
You can tell that they've had no experience organizing searches. So that tells me they don't have the will. Not what I've experienced with Amy Clune and their family, and with Dylan Round's family, Candace and them. They were always organizing searches, sometimes independently. Again, yes, there are private searches, but there's other times where just like this. You got flyers, and then you meet up, you talk about the dangers, and just it's basic common sense logic. Anyway, I apologize, I'm a little feisty, but it's tough because I just spoke with Amy, and it's just like now listening to Chris talk about this, and it bugs me really bad.
Oh
Reach
my
out to your
God!
local law enforcements, whatever.
So the one thing I wanted to do, and then we'll, like I said, we're going to get more into Sebastian. I'm only going to go for an hour because there's some other stuff that's going to be coming out later tonight. Not in this case, another case, and we'll talk about that. So this is Aiden Clune. Again, I know I have a lot of new people. If you're not familiar with what I did last year, just a short recap. This poor teenager went missing 2022 in April. Believe possible maybe some mental health issues, paranoia. We're not 100%, but long story short, unfortunately, he drove from California. He came here into Utah, and then he was going to stay with some grandparents, and then he was, just not in his right mind, unfortunately. And then he drove into Wells, Nevada, which is, west of us, the border. And then from there, he spent a night in a hotel, woke up early in the morning, drove south, and he ended up pulling his truck over in the morning off the side of this freeway in the middle of nowhere. And there's what's Cherry Creek Mountain Range, and he just got out of his truck and just wandered right off into the desert, never to be seen again. They did not massive searches, nothing like Sebastian Rogers, not even close. But they did do some searching. They did find his footprints. They kind of tracked him into this heavily wooded area, and but they never, other than finding some footprints, they never found any clothing, nothing. Fast forward 2 years later, last year we went out there. We've gone almost every year with the family, and I hope to this year as well. And we ended up, so I wanted to go right back to the beginning. And so we went, I got the FOIA report, and God, it's huge. And anyway, long story short, we ended up finding his shoes. And I have the video of that, and I'll play that here. Just kind of show you the tone of what it was like. But again, we'll get back into Sebastian, but I just want to say, if anybody wants to donate, there is 3 QR codes at the bottom right. Now, I usually don't do GoFundMes, but this is the one special case where I would show GoFundMe because I know it's going to be put to good use, because they always deliver. They always go out and search. They always put that money towards the search and for the people that are searching, food, snacks, whatever. So I would ask if anybody was possibly going to donate or anything to this channel, please consider maybe, sharing the GoFundMe, because I promise you it will go to the proper resources. So I apologize, it's a little small. It's trying to zoom in there. I'll try to see if I can get the link so you guys can go to it. But again, if anybody would like to share, that'd be awesome. If anyone wants to email or participate, it's going to be May 31st through June 1st, which is, I think, a weekend. I think it's a Saturday and a Sunday, but I think they'll be out there Friday. So but anyway, it would mean the world, because again, we went out there, we started from the beginning last year, and we found his shoes. We thought for sure we were going to stumble across him. It was really tough. It was very emotional. And here's a part of that, and then we'll get back into Sebastian. But there's the QR codes. Maybe that's a little bit better. Yes, Bliss. That's a great yes, let me write that down. I will do that. Thank you, Bliss, for thinking about that. I really appreciate that. And Jess, thank you so much always for your support and gifted a Mob Crew membership. God bless. Foots and socks, no way will anyone search their place. Yeah, the quote, right? Yeah, unbelievable. But listening to him talk, that scared the shit out of me, because that just told me it's like they haven't been organizing searches, and that tells me they don't have the will or want. And if you don't have the will or want, then you probably, you don't go looking for something if it's not missing, right? So, yeah, huge red flag. Again, I could have probably took more of, but I can't listen to 10 hours of live. I just can't. I guess Chris has the time, instead of, handing out flyers or, thanking people. So here's just this quick clip. I was going to play it a little longer, but again, I'm kind of on a time crunch. But here's me when we literally found the shoes, and you can hear the concern in my voice, because we thought any minute we were going to stumble across remains. Down. Shoes. Do you think he fell and hurt?
Yes.
I think
If he took his shoes off, definitely.
No, I don't think
He's right here close somewhere, Chris, within 500 feet.
I think he might have fell.
He didn't go far without his shoes.
His shoe was like that.
Yes, and that one was
That
just
one's
like that,
down.
just like I saw it.
So as you can hear my breathing, and I'm like, holy shit. Because like I said, nothing of his has ever been found until we, started at the beginning. And again, if I had more time, I'd explain, there are videos how we kind of figured out where he was likely at. But you can hear my voice. Literally, we found the shoes, and then I turned on my GoPro, because we searched for like 6 to 8 hours at a time, and my GoPro only lasts about like 2 hours. So I'll usually kick it on, periodically. And we had just literally got out of the truck. I mean, we had just started searching. And this was one of his last known locations that was allegedly searched fairly well, but apparently not well enough. And I agree, and I can understand how they could have missed it, because it's on this really steep slant. But what's hard to see is one of his shoes is down here. It looked like, and it's hard to see from this camera angle, but we're on a really steep slope. And so we kind of thought what may have happened is he may have fell down this, because it's steep, like where we cross at, where we found these shoes. So like I said, and you can see my walking stick down here, because I'm just literally in shock at this moment. Either he fell.
Good find, huh? This is the only clue they've ever found right here, you guys.
Yeah, it was. They're not even weathered. Yeah, and they weren't fully weathered. The shoelaces were kind of chewed up a bit, but the shoes were still kind of fairly for 2 years out there. I think they were both under the tree, and then I think either weather or an animal, because there's kind of like a thing with the animals, a little trail for the animals kind of just above that, and I think either through the elements of rain or whatever, or the animals might have knocked one of the shoes down. But anyway, so again, it would be amazing. Again, if you're just coming in here, I showed a GoFundMe. They are going out and searching. What do we got? We're April 7th. So we're about 2 months out, a little less than 2 months before they go searching, and they can use all the resources that they can. Because again, we found the shoes last year. It was kind of later in the year. And man, it'd be amazing if one of the things I always wanted to do with this channel is help a family, with closure. I don't have to be the one to find the child or anything. It's a group effort, right? It's a community effort. It's not just me. It's all of you guys, everybody coming together. But anyway, I just wanted to show that because, again, that was, man, we thought we were going to bring him home last year, but I would love if he's out there to be able to bring him home. So anyway, I digress. I apologize, guys. I going really fast, but Yeah, we got a lot going on. Holly W with a $100 Canadian. Hope this helps. Hug and blessings to you, Chris and all. Thank you so much, Holly. God bless you. I really appreciate that, Holly. That is very sweet. You guys are truly amazing. And please show Holly some love in the chat. That's awesome. So moving on. Again, I know you guys probably saw the thumbnail, so we'll get into that. Let's quickly touch on this other thing. I'm sure a little bit of this stuff. I know you guys have probably, if you're watching other channels, probably seen this talked about. But the America's Most Wanted, they did interview Seth, and then of course Seth did the interview at his home, so they saw the they went in and took video of his bedroom. But then, what did the Proudfeet do? What did the Proudfeet do?
Days, basically. Yeah, so...
Sorry, just lining this up real quick. So let's see what Chris and Katie had to say. Well, Chris, anyway, because, of course, Katie, I guess she can't talk, right?
Yeah, so it was filmed in two different, segments or days, basically.
Right.
They came.
Did they do you guys at home or like in an office setting?
Ours is not inside of our house. Ours is in a different area.
Oh, gotcha.
I won't disclose the area.
No, you don't have to. I'm just.
So for context, for everybody who doesn't know, because it kind of cuts right into it, but Queen Bee is asking him, about the America's Most Wanted interview, and of course, we knew, just like I said, Seth did his at his home, but with Chris, it was not the. Here's him explaining, what they did.
Same with when he was explaining that they were in the bedroom. I thought, well, they must have done this in home or something,
It was a personal choice.
Oh, nice.
And that is it's something that Katie and I talked about, and we decided on other things for various reasons, and
I think that's
why, But I mean, the way it was done, it was very tasteful. It's very professional.
That's awesome.
And I think Seth, from what I've heard, Seth did a great job too. But I mean, we won't see it. We will see it when everybody else sees it. It's not an early release to us.
So I find that interesting. And another red flag. Why wouldn't they let them in their home? What do they have to hide? And why wouldn't they want to show the bedroom? We know a lot of mothers, and the ones that I've spoken to, memorialize their children, the one that's missing, memorialize their bedrooms, don't touch a thing. Just like in Seth's case, he had said he had Sebastian's laptop in the kitchen and hasn't moved since, Sebastian put it there, just because that's typically, how we usually see in previous cases where the parents are innocent and, are obviously grieving, and they, are memorializing, I'm not sure how to actually word that, but yet, they wouldn't show that. They're not going to show inside the bedroom. And the only thing I want to touch on this is, and Seth is already, people have already talked about it, so it's not like I'm kind of, breaking anything, but when Seth came into the home that morning, he said the first thing he noticed next to the shoes is that it was really clean. Yeah, just think about that in the pause. If it was really clean, then was it clean before? Does Katie have, or maybe Chris, not the cleanest? Just keep that in mind. Loxy, you had a hard time knowing you could potentially come across the body. Yeah, but I criticize parents who don't want to go through that with their own child. Well, how are you going to find them? I mean, I understand a little bit of that, but they want closure. Trust me. They want closure. The ones that are actually, like, are concerned about their missing child, they want closure. And I guarantee you, they have to prepare for that kind of stuff. But anyway, yeah, what do you guys think? I know, I'm sure you guys have already heard this part, but huge red flag. There's even rumors that possibly the carpet was changed. Again, that's rumor. I have no idea if that's true or not. But again, that's just such a huge red flag. I mean, you're just going to go do an interview, some independent place besides the home. I hope to God they do some research in that America's Most Wanted. I really do. Yeah, I've heard. I don't know if it was a cleaning company. Yeah, I've heard a few different things. Again, we do speculate, but I don't.
So we were told sometime at the end of April.
So that's when it's allegedly coming out. Okay, moving on to the next thing. But reading chat here. Yeah, and you know what really bugs me, Susan, is the fact that they keep posting these photos with either Chris or Katie with Sebastian, and I feel so bad for Seth to see that. These people are crooks, in my opinion. Have no soul, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I'm a little snarky today. Again, I'm not 100%. But when I heard them Chris talking about, the search and logistics and talking about, legal issues, him and that damn term legal issues, it's pathetic. Anyway, moving on. As someone who has been out and searched and know that it's not hard to, because a lot of that area is heavily wooded area. I'm sure not all that is private property. I'm sure a lot of that is open, whatever, I'm sure there's probably a few farms or something that all it is a phone call. But anyway, moving on to the next thing. So, getting into the thumbnail. So as you guys probably have heard, Chris has gone back and said that, there's no 3 a.m. car, and he's kind of doubled down on the SF, theory that, is this guy that was walking his trash can down the damn driveway, which I find fascinating because yet there's 2 lights that are moving, yet they never address what the other light is. Not to mention they don't even address the big elephant in the room, the big giant 2 lights or the big light source, on video 2, which is likely the car. They didn't even address that, but they stick with the 2 little lights in the background. But I find it funny that, SF and basically Chris just kind of reiterates that, this is this right here, and I know it's small. I tried to put it bigger up here, but it's the guy walking his trash can out with a headlamp or whatever. Yet there's a secondary light source. We know that there's subject 1 and 2. So again, I kind of joked around. I'm like, is this was one of them his wife, making sure he, makes it down the driveway okay, and then, he follows them back or actually runs back up, right? And one disappears or I don't know. So anyway, I just had to address this because I do talk to my sources. And so one of the things I want to touch on this 3 a.m. video real quick and we'll move on. So remember, it's this guy with the headlamp that's running his trash can. Because remember, according to SF, this is right before the trash truck is coming, right? So it's like 5:09 or whatever. I think he says around 5:12 or something like that. So you got this guy, running with his headlamp and his trash can. with his wife, kind of, or whoever, mistress, whoever you want to call it, making sure he makes it down the driveway safely. But there's an issue. And I'm sorry, I tried to find the quote. I know it's out there of his Chris's recent talk about no 3 a.m. car, but I know it's in one of these 10-hour lives, and I didn't have time to find it. So they're trying to say it's this driveway, which is just really pathetic because it's the light would have probably been blocked by this home. Again, there's just no way. You can't see anything. The camera is pointed down. We've gone over this a million times, but I just wanted to touch on this because I just want to point out something that just makes this more ridiculous. And I'll tell you guys what they likely did, because I know SF has twisted this guy's words multiple times, and it irritates the Evan shit out of me. Does not realize how hard it is to row with the full trash can. Yeah. That's ridiculous. So here's the footage, right? Yes, we know the timestamp is frozen, right? So that's their excuse to try to tell you that this is taken at, just before the trash is coming. So what do you guys notice? And I'll tell you why we are noticing this. I can tell you to the best of my abilities, anyway. So I know they're kind of dark, so I do apologize. But what we have here is we have an AC unit, so don't get confused. That's an AC unit. But right here, these two right here, I'm sure if you can see good enough. I do apologize. It's dark. I can't really brighten it as much. That is 2 garbage cans. So what do you notice about them? It's garbage morning, right? It's not even garbage night. It's garbage morning. That's right, girl mom. Yeah, those trash cans are still sitting in front of the home. So I spoke with the locals, plural, and I asked them, I'm like, one, have you seen the trash cans ever out on a Sunday night? And they were like, you know what, come to think of it, I don't think I ever see their trash cans out. That got me thinking. I'm like, this is probably a morning person, and he probably puts them out in the morning, just before the trash can comes. That's what I did when I took care of my grandma like a decade ago when I moved in, and before she moved into a retirement home. I did the same thing. I think our trash came more like 6:37, but sometimes she'd yell at me because, she liked routine, but I'd put them out in the morning because I was up by 5 o'clock. But anyway, yes, these trash cans are not out. And no, they don't have a different trash company. They are J.E. McMurtry. I'm just going to say J.E. because I'll butcher the damn name. I apologize. But no, they don't have a different garbage company. They have the same ones. This is a household that has, well, of course, they have like usually 5 to 6 vehicles in the driveway. So what does that tell you? Clearly, it's a big, busy household. I know kind of what they do. I think they have some kids. I'm not going to get, because, but, man, wife, and a couple kids. So it's a decent sized family that lives there. So I'm sure they want to make sure they get their trash out every week. So there's a picture of their trash cans. Now, I believe usually you can get one, but you can always get an extra one. I think some people who own homes probably are familiar with this. I think usually they assign you maybe one, and then if you want another, I don't know what, if you pay a little extra or whatever. But it looks like they have 2. And it does seem like there's a few, because if you pan over, because they updated the Google maps, you can see that there's another family that's got 2. But anyway, and I think then they have a recycling one as well. I don't know. It could be 1 and 1. They do look like the same color, which is more of a... The color looks green right there, but I think it's supposed to be like a brown because, usually the green or blue is the recycling, right? So anyway, so like I said, I asked the locals, I'm like, have you ever noticed if they're out there on a Sunday night? And again, they're like, God, yeah, I don't ever see it. So it's likely that they put them out. One of them, probably maybe the father, early riser, probably puts them out there just before the trash man comes. So then, if you put 2 and 2 together, what did SF say? And Chris is now backing that up about a guy walking his trash can out in the morning. Because remember he said that he interviewed the guy and said, oh yeah, that was me taking out the trash can. Well, this is, again, just speculation, but just kind of going off past history of knowing that SF has twisted stuff. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he probably interviewed that homeowner, because I know he talked to him, and he probably twisted his words and used him to claim that it was a neighbor down the street that it was taking the trash out, but really, it was just when he just said, hey, yeah, I took the trash out just before the trash truck came, right? Again, a little bit of speculation, but knowing how he's twisted his words before probably leads me to believe that it was this homeowner that probably said, yeah, I went out and took the trash can. And then SF probably just tagged on, oh, yeah, well, he's got a headlamp now. And then made it the neighbor that's up down the road, which, of course, it's physically impossible to see the neighborhood above us. It's just, I'm sorry, it's physically impossible. We've gone over it a million times. I'm not going to. Again, when this boat cuts off, you can't see the neighborhood above you. That's just how camera angles work in your field of view. When you look down, you can't see the ceiling anymore, right? It's all based, in relativity. But again, it just blows my mind that these people look past this stuff on purpose, almost. Even though I know a lot of these people are smart on the other side, it's just, I can't believe these people really overlook this stuff or just ignore it like it's no big deal. So, again, trash cans are up against the wall. I've told you guys the other thing that you can tell, and I'm not going to go deep into this. I have before. This is probably not the best one, but you see the borders on the side, right? I told you guys that what's being recorded is, so let's say if you're just, for anybody that's familiar with VLC or media player, you have your play button, your fast forward buttons, you got all that, and then you have a timeline below timeline below, which is the thing there. Let me yoink. So this bar here, the timeline, where you could skip forward. You guys know I broke that down, showing you that they are literally using the NVR, which is like a DVR. But on the side, they have the dates. I've broken that all down. And again, of course, have they ever talked about that? I've mentioned that 1,000 times. Have they ever touched on that? No, because they know that what's going on the borders on the outside. They knew what they were looking at. They didn't have the exact time, but they knew that they were, around the 3 a.m. area. But again, and then, of course, let's not address the giant elephant in the room where there's a big giant light that, illuminates over here. We're not going to talk about that. We'll just talk about the little itty bitty light that's allegedly the guy taking out his trash can. But anyway, I digress. That's my 2 cents. That's my theory. and it wouldn't surprise me. Again, it's based on, you can see the damn trash cans there. And I promise you, they're a big family. I'm sure they got to get their trash cans out each week, or they're probably in trouble. Because you can see how many cars they have in their driveway. It's a decent sized family. But I'm pretty sure the guy just gets up in the morning and SF twisted the story and Chris is running with it, and shame on them. Thank you, DC Prime. I appreciate you guys. Bab says, I guess whoever was driving the car turned on the lights and was taking his trash out to the gazebo. Right? Yeah, everybody's taking the trash out. Yeah. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so I'm trying to cruise through this. I do apologize. So those familiar with the Delphi case, there's going to be stuff coming out tonight, literally within the hour. So I'm trying to finish up my live so I can go and record that, because it's supposed to be his interrogations and a bunch of stuff. So I do want to go tap into that so I can make videos for you guys for tomorrow. My husband works with cameras every day. He takes care of 700 townhomes, and cops call him all the time for crimes in the neighborhood. Oh, God. Sounds like a busy man. Okay, so then we have the Dateline thing.
There's actually a piece of...
So I'm got two more things to go over. And we're going to add the Dateline because I know probably a lot of you have heard the Dateline thing, and we're just going to kind of crush through this. But we're going to add in, I built that timeline and stuff. And there's a couple of red flags. And then I'm going to show you Katie driving, not slowed down. I'll just show you, the urgency.
So to make something very crystal clear, so that way there's transparency across the board. Me and the mom were on the phone at 9:43 or 9:46 in the evening. We stayed on the phone for quite some time. The call logs have been verified by all the police departments, TBI included. We stayed on the phone. It was very lengthy. Mom,
actually,
okay. All right.
The garbage.
Okay. All right. So let's go.
Puppy's up, and I went to.
Okay. So we're just going to go through the top part of this real quick and add in with the timeline. So Katie Proudfoot recalls, so she did an interview. Now, I find the timing of this interview and what she added in here, again, we'll cross that when we get to it. But anyway, so did an interview with Dateline. Of course, there's no actual footage. Doesn't surprise me. Of course, hate to have more body language experts breaking down your slip-ups. Here, 15-year-old son Sebastian Rogers got ready around 9 p.m. Said, I love you to his mom, to his dogs. Yeah, we've heard that a million times. Love you, puppies. Love you, mom. She says that pretty convincingly. Katie remembers hearing a noise from Sebastian's room around 10 p.m. I hollered out to him, and he answered me. Katie said, I didn't think a whole lot of it. About an hour later, Katie went to bed, which is a little bit different, but they do say about an hour later because remember, it's supposed to be 2 hours later because remember, they had a phone call from 9:46 to midnight. She went to bed at midnight. Anyway, she had no idea her life would be very different in the morning. Really? Or did she? Monday morning, Katie went to her son's room. It was about 6 a.m. in the morning when I went to wake him up for school. Katie said, I went into his room and I was like, dude, time to get up. Normally he will, turn and look, and he didn't. And I realized he wasn't in bed, Katie said. Remember the last time she had said, I went to wake him up, but he wasn't there. How did she word it? Something like that? Something like that. Something really suspicious. Correct me in the chat. Something to that effect where I went to wake him up, but he wasn't there. But now she adds a little bit more. Dude, get up. And then he wasn't there.
Mind you, all of this.
Oh. Following moments. Let's see. Oh. Following moments are every parent's worst nightmare. I looked everywhere in and around the house. I couldn't find him, Katie said. I checked his bathroom. He wasn't in there. And I was like, okay, well, maybe he went to the kitchen. You know, maybe he got up before me. And so I went through the house. And when I didn't see him is when I started to panic a little bit, Katie said. I ran through like literally every area of the house, everywhere. And that's when I really started to panic. And then this is the best part, because now we've got another continuity change in the story.
So in your mind, that's usually around what time? When do you normally wake up? Around 6 o'clock?
6.
So
After I looked, and I mean, mind you, all of this took place in like 1 minute flat. But I didn't see him in his room. I looked all over.
Midnight. So I got up and I put the puppies up and I went to bed myself.
Yeah, notice she says midnight multiple times. Even Chris says midnight. Because remember, the call logs are verified 9:43 to 9:43, 9:46 to midnight.
At midnight. And, I went to sleep, obviously. And then at 6 a.m., I went to wake him up for school, and that's when I couldn't find him. And sorry.
It's okay.
And if you watch some of the body language experts and those experts that are really good at breaking down these interviews, and I forget the name, the one that I just recently saw, but he noticed that she tends, to do that, where she exhales, and he found that very, as a red flag, as if she's trying to kind of parcel out, because she's very, very detailed the night before, for the most part the day before, but then, when she gets into that morning, it gets super vague, and then she does the breathing, and then of course, once she can get Chris to that phone call, then Chris takes over every time.
It's okay. Take your time.
So then this is where it gets even more interesting. Katie says she jumped in the car, began driving around the neighborhood. Katie also called her husband. So again, now this could be, just be fair, this could be just like how the editor worded it. Because right now it's not in quotes. So keep in mind. So I try to be fair when I can. But according to this, it makes it sound like she called her husband after she left, which then, of course, well, that doesn't make sense, because she said a bunch of times that within minutes she called Chris. So again, what is it? Who was out of town on a business trip at the time? It's like terror. Katie told Dateline. What happened? Where did he go? I was in my car, and I stopped and I asked one of the ladies walking her dog. Whoa, well, this is new. And she was like, no, I haven't seen him. And it really, started to kick in at that point, Katie said. Wow. Wasn't before. So, yeah, that's new. We haven't heard about that. Now, this is the question, because I've been speaking with the locals. We're trying to figure out who this lady is. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. We are kind of looking into this. The only thing I know, or I wouldn't say no, but the word is, and this is corroborated by multiple sources, so I think this is, this has a layer of truth to it, is at 6:20, before she gets in her car, she comes out, she screams for Sebastian, which we have on our timeline, and then there's neighbors outside. So I think those neighbors was actually walking one of their dogs, and because apparently she had a conversation with one of them for a bit of time. And then after that is when she got in the car. So I think she's switching these and saying she's getting the car. And I think, and again, I'm not trying to, say, oh, it's because of me. But I just find the timing interesting that here she puts herself in a position where she's in the car. And now, how we've shown where she's, in the car without her windows down, not screaming, where every other mother where we asked, what would you do if you're in this position? You would be screaming at the top of your lungs with your window down. It's the same thing Seth did the second he got there and figured out that there's nothing he could do when he arrived after work. He went driving down every other road, screaming, literally lost his voice days later because he's just driving around screaming Sebastian's name. So I find it interesting that I think she twisted this story on purpose when really it's just her talking to that neighbor when she came out originally. Again, just speculating. But again, I've heard stuff, so it's a little based on some decent sources. Again, it's certainly possible. I'm sure it probably would have been caught on camera. Maybe. But I do find it funny that she allegedly, stops this lady walking this dog. Then Katie says she headed to Sebastian's school. So we'll come back to this statement. So I do find it interesting because remember we put out the video and some screenshots really of Katie, obviously after she comes back from the school where she's driving up and back down the neighborhood and she clearly has no window down. Her head is forward. She's not stopping in between, looking between the homes. As we did a huge comment section where we asked people, what were your experiences? What would you do? I mean, people are talking about when they lose their animal, they have shown more, emotion and urgency. So again, we have two inconsistencies, well, probably more, but one in this Dateline, basically sounds like the phone call comes after she leaves the home, which doesn't line up with multiple interviews before that where she said she immediately called Chris. So which one is it? She comes out of the house at 6:20, seen screaming for Sebastian. I think she knew that there was a camera across the neighborhood. She knew that lady. So I think that was all for show. Then spoke with the neighbor walking the dog, and then got in the car. Then left, went to the school. Of course, was seen at the school for mere minutes, literally just pulling in and turning right around. And then, again, and then the question is, it'd be nice to know to talk to this lady and say, hey, if you do remember speaking with Katie, was she on the phone? Right? Because that would be very interesting to know if she was actually on the phone.
Mom comes out. It could have even been 6:30. It was sometime in that window. Mom comes out. She sees neighbors. There's multiple neighbors outside at that point, and she starts saying, I can't find Sebastian anywhere. I can't find him anywhere. Now, I don't think she's much said that part of the story, that she actually came outside of her home.
So yeah. Okay, so she then heads to the school, like we said, and then this is interesting. Katie says that she headed to Sebastian's school, got on a 3-way call with Chris. So again, it almost reinforces. Now it's not in quotes. So again, I got to give a little bit of leeway. But here it implies again that she's getting on this 3-way after getting in the car, which again does not line up with multiple interviews saying she literally called Chris within minutes. So again, what is the true story? What is the truth? And then to continue with that, by the time she got to the school, this is very interesting. She was told to turn around and head home because law enforcement was headed to her house. Well, that's interesting because when she's driving up Kellen, law enforcement hasn't been notified yet. She's still about a minute off. So again, another huge red flag. So there you go. There's Katie. This is unedited. Usually I've shown the slow-mo version. Yep, that's Katie. It's not speed up or anything. It's normal speed. That certainly looks like a mother who is very interested in finding Sebastian. She just learned literally 30 minutes ago that her son is missing. And this is what we get. And again, look at the time frame. Because remember, it's not till 6:33 till law enforcement is notified. Yet she's told to turn back around at the school. It's 6:32. Just out for a joyride. On her way back, again, same thing. No stopping anywhere. And there she is. Normal time. Normal speed right there. Sorry guys, it's really short, so when I back it up too far, but again, that is normal speed, and I've seen the whole video all the way to the end of the street and back. It's same speed till she turns around, same speed back. No searching in between the homes, no kind of, slowing down, braking. Look at her, just cruising right by. And a lot of you are parents, mothers, what have you. You'd be screaming at the top of your lungs. Probably have experienced something similar at some point. And because I've spoken with a few of you guys. And yeah, again, I'm not speeding that up. I wouldn't do that. That's why I slowed it down for you guys. Yeah. All for show. It's disgusting. Time is it? 5:33. Thanks, Mary. That I needed that. Yeah, she's not winning an Emmy for that search, right? And it sucks. And I hate to poop on the law enforcement, but they screwed up heavily. They screwed up in the beginning. They believed the parents or Katie. They thought this was a runaway. A lot of cases with autism, I guess, are, there's a lot of, was it lopers? Runaways when it comes to the autism community. And I think they were just hell-bent. But the thing that just baffles me is the fact that they looked into Seth, took all of his electronics in the beginning, yet they waited 2 weeks till they took Katie's and them. By that time, Who knows what they did with their electronics? And apparently they had more than one. At least Chris for sure. And apparently they only took one of the devices. Again, I wasn't there. I don't know. That's just what I heard. But yeah, they screwed up. They weren't looking at all angles. I think they were just looking for, to be those heroes to bring, the child home. Got narrow-sighted. And sadly, this case will probably go down as a case that's studied as a no-no in law enforcement. I hope to God it is. I hope to God if John Benet Ramsey wasn't a huge red flag, this certainly should be. That, and I still can't fathom why the kid goes missing under the mother's roof, and you have footage of the father, literal solid alibi. You cannot get more solid alibi than the father. Yet out of the two, they go at looking at him first. It's so ass backwards. In my opinion, I don't know, is lawyer, let's say lawyer in here. I wonder if after time, if Seth could just sue. Again, law is not my area of expertise, but I just wonder if they could do a civil lawsuit like they did with OJ, where, right after he was acquitted, the gold, I want to say Tenenbaums, the Goldbergs. Oh, shame on me. You guys know what I'm saying. What's the family's last name? It's Gold something. But you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, civil suit. And you don't need a lot to win your case. In my opinion, because it happened under her roof, right? Goldman. What did I say? I said something stupid. Yeah, Goldman's. Yeah. Ron Goldman. Oh, gosh. The poor kid. Anyway. Yeah. I don't know if he can do that, but yeah. Cinderella. Yeah. We can agree to disagree. I think that was heavily staged. I think it was an accident. Burke had outbursts. I don't want to get sidetracked. I think the parents panicked. They covered it up, and then tried to make it look, but nothing adds up. And what's funny is the biggest clue that was left behind the alleged perpetrator is the ransom note. Yet, if you look at the documentaries with the Ramseys, the one thing they don't ever talk about, except vaguely, is the ransom note. They might mention the ransom, which is just strange. I don't know who in the hell asked for $118,000. That is so ridiculous. That's just my opinion. Agree to disagree, right? But I mean, that is the biggest clue. Yet, if you look, I have studied that case. Again, I'm not an expert, but I've studied that case, and they don't ever talk about that damn ransom note. And to me, I would think that would be that is their key to figuring it out. But they don't like. Yeah, Patsy wrote it. Yeah, she was ambidextrous. And you know what? For those that don't know, is apparently her. It's one thing when you're younger and you get a little bit older, your handwriting does evolve, but apparently, when you get to adolescence, your handwriting doesn't really evolve much after that. And apparently hers did. They did notice that through letters. So a little sus there, in my opinion, but getting off track. But anyway, I just thought this is interesting. A little extra time differences here. Again, I'm sorry I'm rushing through this. Oh, I thank you, Chica. God bless you. I wish I was going slower and interacting more. Again, there's just something that's coming out tonight in the Delphi case that I really want to, because the interviews for Richard Allen are coming out, and I think that's big because, I kind of sit in the minority when it comes to that case, but I think it's going to be huge to see the Richard Allen stuff. So anyway, here's a picture of their search that was also in the article, which again, as someone who's seeing Caltopa and nothing to this extent. I mean, this is insane, and this is not even close to everything they have. This is just zoomed out. The amount of search that they did in this case and the resources, holy hell. One of the biggest searches that I know is conducted on a missing child. I don't know if I'm guessing in the United States, one of the biggest, if not biggest. I don't know. It's big. No, it was 118,000 and some odd change, wasn't it? It was 118,000. It was the bonus that was from the year before, I think. But no, it was 118. It just had some extra numbers after. Yeah, it was 118. There's a picture of the check. I forget what the smaller amount is. No, I disagree, Will, that it was 118, but I think it had like 530 some odd dollars and some change. But yeah, the 118 I think is for the year prior, because remember his bonus would show up. It's been a minute. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I know it, like the bonus stays on his checks throughout the year or whatever, which is weird. I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 100. Correct me if I'm wrong in chat, but I'm pretty sure. I could probably look it up. John Ramsey bonus check amount. Sorry, Will, I'm not trying to call you out, but what was the exact amount? Exact. I know there's a picture of it. There it is. Yeah, there it is. 100. Yeah, so the actual, so it was 118 and it had $117.50. Yeah, it was 118. It just had a little bit of change on the end, but come on. That literally just tells you how much you narrow the suspect list down to like 5 to 20 people tops. And that includes your inner circle. That's it. There's no stranger to come in, and who's going to look at a check? And this is the other argument. I'm sorry to get sidetracked. So one of the arguments is they said, okay, well, they broke in, they see this check, right? So they see a bonus for 118,000. Why? So they know they're getting a bonus for 118. Why not ask for like 250 grand? Because he's at least got the 118 just from the bonus itself. It's so stupid. It's so dumb to say like, oh yeah, well they just saw the check and then wrote 118. That's so dumb, because you would know like, oh, he's at least getting this. This guy's worth millions. It's so dumb. I'm sorry. Just my opinion. Law enforcement screwed it so bad in the beginning. I blame John Bonet or Ramsey because he picked up his daughter. He contaminated the hell out of the crime scene. Everything that could have gone wrong did. And I kind of feel like this case with Proudfeet is kind of in the similar spot. Joe, I got to go to work. I'll watch replay. Love you. Thank you so much, Joe South. I'm feeling better, Alan. God bless you, man. 17 months. I know you've been sticking with me. Thank you so much, buddy. Jocelyn Landon, thank you so much for becoming a member. Girl Mom says, also, if you live in the state of Tennessee, tell me one time they brought out mobile command center and it wasn't foul play. Oh. I'm gonna be honest, Girl Mom, that's not definitely one of my areas of expertise. Not that I have many. That's interesting though. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. And Jez, thank you so much again for another gifted Mob Crew membership. One more thing, I apologize, guys. I really wanted to go over a little bit more of the timeline and the bus. Okay, one last thing before I go. So, as you guys know, I kind of talked about the bus on Wednesday. I did get that cleared up because you guys know I do try to, even though we speculate, I try to stick with the facts. So the high school bus does come at 6:22 a.m. That is for sure. But yes, Sebastian did have, a special bus that came for him, and it did come a little after 7. And I did hear that poor bus driver was, I forget the term that was used, but yeah, he was devastated, or she was devastated. I think it was a she. So we did actually finally talk to the school to clear that up, because I did wonder, but still, the argument still holds still. The bus comes at 6:20. Remember, she's outside, and remember, the bus stops at 6:22, so she's outside. So even though, let's say that is not the bus that does pick up Sebastian, although it does pick up the high school, it does. This is the last bus. And usually I'll pick up even maybe the middle and the elementary. But when you think, if you're thinking your son is wandering to school, again, it's right here. The bus stops right here for a minute, right? And she's right here. We're talking, she could throw a rock and, basically hit the bus, more or less. So she's right there. You don't think, why not run up to that bus and go the bus driver go hey, I know, hey, did my son get on this bus, for one? And then, hey, two, I know you're going to be driving to the school. Could you keep a lookout for my son? I haven't seen him. And, you've got a bus full of kids, right? So the bus driver could also alert, hey, students, be on the lookout for this kid that's, right now missing. Now that could be just, your logic's not all the way there, but, again, I'm just kind of arguing both sides. But again, it's just yeah, I don't know. But I do want to correct. Yes, the bus, he did have a separate bus. I know some people told me that in chat, or last week, but I did want to correct that, yes, a separate bus came a little after 7. Yeah. No, it's for Tracy. It's for everybody. This 622. You can call them. I wouldn't call them, but I promise you, it's the last bus. It's the last bus. You can look it up. If I had more time, maybe next time I'll show the website. You can literally pull up a route, put up an address, and it'll tell you. I know it seems early. Believe me, it's just because they pick them all up, the elementary, the middle, and the high school, and so they're dropping, letting out the one group first, the elementary, and then they go, and then they let out the middle school, and then by the time they get to the high school, everything kind of lines up. So again, we try to do as much research. Sometimes I get stuff wrong. I'm not perfect, but again, we did clarify with a very nice lady over the phone about when the buses come and all that good stuff.
I did.
So. I'm not sure. Bus para. I'm not sure what that means. I maybe unless you're asking is like a special bus that comes for the special students or autistic whatever. Yes, there is. If that's what you're asking, yes, there was a different bus for him. Yeah, KJ, honestly, I don't know how it works. I could just promise you that is the last stop. Again, if I had more time, I would go on the website and show you. I know, it seems weird, but remember, I got locals that had kids go to that school, so they could relate to relay what they experienced, right? Melanie Flowers giving a Mob Crew membership. Thank you so much. One last thing. I apologize, guys, and I'll mention what I'm talking about with the Delphi case. Again, if you missed it earlier, I'm trying to multitask with this channel because I know Sebastian's a hot topic, but there's also this case with Dylan Rounds. Long story short, and maybe when we have more time this week, I can kind of go a little bit more into depth how we figured out Aiden Clune and where his shoes were at. But they're going out this next month, at the end of next month. This is something they've done for 3 years now. I've been involved every time, I think. I don't think I missed a search. I think I had to go home for like a day when they did like the 5-day one, but I think I've been with everyone. There's a GoFundMe link. Again, I really don't ever show GoFundMes, but I can promise you, I know that this GoFundMe will go to what they need. Water, different resources, radios, food, snacks, getting ATVs, whatever it is. But hopefully it's big enough you can scan the UR code. I will try to put it in my Facebook group as well. It'd be amazing. I'd prefer you guys to donate to that GoFundMe and help Amy out. And we'll talk more about it throughout the week. And hopefully I'm get to 100% that I can go out and help him this year again. But yeah. It would mean the world to me. If we could bring Aiden home, I promise you, I could care less if I get 100,000 subscribers or go down 150,000 subscribers. If we found Aiden, that was the whole thing about this channel is to get back to the missing. And that would mean the world to me. We got it started last year by finding his shoes. It'd be so amazing to finalize it. With that, before I go, I was kind of thinking you were, I'm not versed in paraprofessional, so I can't really say. Now that's still in rounds. With Aiden Clune, it's kind of, still kind of around the same area, but it's still different. Yeah, that's Monticello, I think. There's so many. There's Monteplier, Monticello, Montello. So it's hard to get them all right. So what I'm talking about with the Delphi case is they apparently are releasing the interviews He had the 2 interviews Richard Allen did, interrogation ones, and then apparently I believe the phone calls are being released. I don't know if they're all. And then the other one I'm excited for is the 127 where his car was allegedly seen. So, but the biggest one is I just want to hear his voice. I think it's sketchy that the defense has not, they clearly have had this sitting on their desk. They leaked out the poor girl's video. I find it very sus that we never heard his voice. But they're saying that sounds just like the guy in the video. So I am excited to hear that. With that, I will probably have a bunch of videos tomorrow on the Delphi thing. So look forward to that. As always, thank you to my members, my mods, Sensei. I know you kind of had to run this. Engez, and thank you, Engez, as well. I had some mods that had to go help out the channel because they're starting to do the Richard Allen thing. So they had to go help out that channel. So thank you to everyone being respectful. I apologize I didn't get to more people and, kind of go back and forth. I am feeling a little better, and I do appreciate that. Again, it's going to be a long road. We all kind of get to that age where things start kind of falling apart, and it's just a little bit of a grind. So, again, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Be safe. I love you guys so much. I'm not going to do a pet outro this time. I've got to get caught up on my emails. I'm not going to lie, guys. I've been kind of bedridden. So I do apologize. I am going to try to get to some tonight and tomorrow. So just kind of be patient with me. But it's usually in the description. Sometimes you'll see it in the chat as well. Right there. And with that, we will see you guys tomorrow. Wednesday. I apologize. But I will have some videos tomorrow, I promise you, with the Richard Allen stuff. So, God bless you guys.